It's been 2 years since war broke out in Marawi, and until now, thousands of residents are still displaced from their homes. Now, to help us understand the situation there and the assistance being given to affected residents 2 years on, we are joined in the studio by Social Welfare Undersecretary Felicimo Budiongan. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good
and the
morning.
International Committee for the Red Cross Head, Martin Thalman. Good morning, Martin. Good morning, Yusek Fel.
Yeah, good morning.
Okay, first off, let's start with the ICRC. According to your study, around 100,000 residents have yet to return to their houses after the war broke out in Marawi City 2 years on. Now, some of them are either living with their relatives or are still in evacuation centers. So what can you tell us more? You were there just 2 weeks ago. What can you tell us more about the situation in Marawi?
Yes, I mean, it's 2 years on and still some people have to endure this situation that they cannot go home because they are from the main, what it's called the main affected areas. And this is 24 barangays out of the 96 barangays in Marawi. So it's very hard for them because if you imagine you lost your house 2 years ago and you're still living either with relatives or in an evacuation center, you kind of hope for temporary shelters, and we have to say that a lot of temporary shelters were built. But some people didn't have that opportunity yet, so they are still waiting. And we really hope that it goes forward with the rehabilitation of Marawi, so that eventually these people can go home and really enjoy what they had 2 years before, which was a normal life, going to school, their kids, or what you would imagine.
What are the most, can you give us a picture of what's happening on the ground? What are the most pressing issues, concerns, physical needs, for example, mental, emotional, or social needs?
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned the mental needs because we forget that often a little bit because we look at what do people need physically, do they need more food, do they need more what we call cash assistance so that they can rebuild their lives or pay medical bills, etc. But actually what we discovered as well was already last year that people have a lot of mental health issues because you remember at the beginning there were 2,000 people taken hostage. Afterwards it was still 1,000 people who were taken hostage in the main zone. And these people now, even 2 years after, they still have to deal with this. So we, the Red Cross, we give a lot of consultations to families, to women, to kids who were affected by this. Some lost their fathers, breadwinners. So this has a huge psychological impact, and our specialists now, international and Filipino specialists, they're working together to really help these families.
Okay, Yusek Fel, you heard what he said. First off, in terms of physical needs, what are the aids or help the DSWD has given to evacuees so far?
Well, at the onset of the siege, we are in charge of the camp coordination and camp management. So all evacuation centers, we have our camp managers, and we are also in charge of the IDP protection. We see to it that there are women and friendly and children-friendly spaces. And finally, we are also in charge of the food and non-food items. So now we have, I believe we have only 4 evacuation centers, but they are now manned with the local government units. We have evacuation center at Sarimonok 1 and 2, and the other one is in at the provincial capital, and the other one is at Buadi Itua. But the local government unit is working with the National Housing Authority for these people to be transferred to the transitory houses that are being built for them. And starting April 6 up to this date, we were able to provide some kind of emergency cash transfer to the 15,677 households from the most affected areas, which is composed of the 24 barangays. And we are giving them 20,000 pesos for the livelihood settlement grant and 53,000 pesos for the transitory family support package.
Okay, sir, just to clarify, we all know that they are not living in the most desirable situation. Nasa transitory houses pa rin sila yung iba.
Right.
But then, are they at least getting enough food, basic services? Do they have water or do they have electricity?
Yeah, for the DSWD, we are continuing our provision of family food packs. Our frontliners are there to assess if they need those relief goods, and we provided them. As to the water, the wash cluster or the water and sanitation hygiene cluster are the ones providing the water, which is headed by the DOH and the LGU. For the electricity, La Soreco, the Lanao del Sur Electric Company, is providing the power that they need, but it is being paid by the government.
Martin, in terms of basic services, based on your observation, do you think the residents of Marawi are getting enough?
Well, I think it's never enough, but you know that it's very difficult to really cover such a large population. I mean, you have to think when we were up there at the beginning of the fighting, it was 300,000, 350,000 people who came down from Marawi. And that's a huge population. I mean, we hardly see these kind of big numbers in other places. So no, it's not enough. I mean, you still have families who struggle to get their kids back to school or to struggle to have a livelihood, what we call a livelihood, to have a normal life again. So while the government is doing that, also many international organizations, the International Red Cross together with the Philippine Red Cross, we are helping people also with livelihood projects, or more to say. So if you were a trader before, maybe you can be a trader again. You just need a little bit of help, a loan, and then you can start your sari-sari business or whatever it is again. And I think that's important, that people get back to what they were before.
Yusek Fel Martin also mentioned about mental needs. Do we have a program to help victims or Maranaos traumatized by the war?
Yeah, I believe so, because the Department of Health is providing the psychosocial intervention to the women and children because of they are traumatized by what happened. And I believe it's ongoing, and I believe Martin also has a hand of with this intervention.
Okay. Yes, exactly. It's really working hand in hand, because not one organization or even the government, I mean, it's not surprising. It's too much, so we all have to work together. And I think that's going quite well, but then there's more needs. And I think it's important also, there are quite complex issues. You know, if you look at the land issues, it's not something which goes very fast. And then, yes, we would like to see a more speedy operation, but there are many factors which influence that. And our concern is really with the people, that they get back to normality as soon as possible. And that's why we have to do a lot. Also, for example, we assisted a lot of people who had medical needs, and this we did together with DOH, but also with foundations like the Davao Jubilee Foundation, who helps us, people with disabilities then.
Sir, one of the biggest concerns of the residents of Marawi is that the lack of coordination, the lack of consultations among them, the things they need. Do we do that, sir?
I believe at the very start, the Task Force Bangon Marawi is on top of the situation, and they are conducting consultations with the people. There was a consensus build-up, even utilizing the Sultanate, the political leaders, and the different stakeholders of the society. So I believe we have enough consensus build-up.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Yusek Fel, and thank you, Martin.